webinar. Today is July the 18th, Mandela Day, and I would like to welcome you all for joining us on this particular webinar. We'll be doing this webinar myself and Arabile Gumede, and I'd like to welcome everyone. I've got VJ, Yolande, Batapile, Zanele, David, Michael, Sabelo, Miss Chief, Tuduzile, Tembi, Ntele, Leseko, Dominic, Bridget, Tulile, Setabo, Batabile, VJ again, Boni, Lindy, Prem, Rafik, Fatima, Cairo, Naledi, Sebate, Arnold, Omega, Logan. I'd like to welcome you all and everyone who's on this particular webinar. The numbers keep going up. Today's topic is ultimate savings hacks. And what we shall be doing is we shall be looking at practical ways in which we can make savings a part of our life. As you know, July Savings Month this year is about finding financial resilience in challenging times because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So we're going to talk real, keep it real. And any questions you have, you can pop them onto the scroll on the right-hand side of your screen, and we will try and address them as we go along. And remember, by participating in this webinar, go to the Ways to Save website, answer the questions, and you stand a chance of winning 10,000 Rand courtesy of ABSA in a tax-free savings account. So I'll be joining you in about half an hour to continue this webinar, but I'd like to welcome this esteemed Arabile Gumede, all-tribal financial journalist and a financial guru in the making. So he'll be sharing his nuggets in terms of savings hacks and how we can all start saving and learning to do better. Arabile, welcome.
Gerald, before you leave, please don't go anywhere. Good morning to everyone that has joined us, of course, for this webinar. Before we continue, yes, it's Mandela Day, so of course I hope that you're all sticking to the commitments you kind of made as well to try and help people. But it's also Gerald's birthday, as you can tell from the balloons that were hitting him on his head and the one right behind him. So all of that is happening today. Please join me in very quickly singing happy birthday. I know you can't... Or they can type it, exactly. Also very true. But I'm going to sing it very quickly for you, Gerald, because you deserve it. This is absolutely great. So here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Gerald. Happy birthday to you.
Well done, Arabile. You've still got a good singing voice, and thank you for all the well wishes. And yes, my number will be scrolling at the bottom of the screen for any e-wallets and donations towards my birthday stokvel fund. Thank you very much.
Well, that is certainly one other way to save. Thank you so much, Gerald, for all of that. And, it's really important that even on birthdays, we begin to celebrate despite the time we're in, right? Despite COVID-19, unfortunately, impacting and affecting us so badly. Things have certainly been rough, South Africa. And all of you can attest to that. All of you know how difficult it is. Maybe you're worried about losing your job. Maybe you're worried that you just won't be able to feed your family or yourself at the end of this month, or even today for that matter. I've lived through a little bit of that too. So what happens now, what's critical about now, is being able to find your path moving forward. A lot of people ask the question as to whether they can start saving and what they need to do. All I say is just start. You have the vision, you have the idea. Pick one thing, let's start, because that is the journey. The journey doesn't begin with us creating these grand plans initially. Sometimes it just starts by you committing to actually wanting to save. So that's what I want us to try and do today. What I'm doing as well now in this next session is trying to create an environment for you to feel like you can then grow your savings journey. Yes, we're starting, and we're starting right now, but we're also growing that savings journey beyond today. Who knows how far you could really get with your savings journey and how much you could save for, whether it be for a specific event, holiday, whatever the case is, or even a particular item, if you're saving for a car, a house, etc. By the way, it is a great market to be looking towards buying a house. Of course, lower interest rates mean you'll get a better deal, but be wary, of course, as to how you do that, and make sure you can afford it. There's a difference between being able to afford something and being able to buy something, because affording it means that when things pop up, when things happen in future, You need to be able to say to yourself, yep, I can still pay for it. If something breaks in the house, can you replace it? If something breaks on your car, can you replace that? That is being able to afford your vehicle or affording your house. So always just remember those tips. All right, so before I wax on lyrical about a million other things, just remember that you can, of course, answer just this one question that I'd like to ask all of you. And I'm going to share some of mine, right? But I want you guys to share some of the little tidbits you've learned or you've gotten to Ghana even before this session that you know very well work for you when saving. Just let me know what those are in the comment section on the right-hand side of your screen, and we can have a discussion about that and a whole lot more as well, and unpack it. If you have a question, also put that on the right of your screen there. I will look to answer as many questions as possible. I'll get into as many items as I possibly can. The answers may not always be perfect. The answers may sometimes be subjective to me. Let's remember that you do have my experiences here as to what I will be dealing with, and that is what I'll be sharing with you guys, and hopefully that helps you in your journey as well. If it doesn't, my apologies, because I'm not a financial advisor, but what I am is somebody who's learned along the way. These are the things that have helped me grow and become even better. All right, so let's set the scene very quickly before I kick off with the story. The scene right now is that South Africa is going to get absolutely walloped when it comes to, yes, growth, yes, unemployment, but what we tend to do is we speak of all these figures, things like inflation and the like, as high level. They're all such distant elements. What I want us to focus on is what's hurting you, what's hurting us right now. Fact is, I can't go to the nearest retailer right now and buy anything I want because I have to think about whether I will actually have a job at the end of the month. That's the ultimate reality. I can't just go and buy a car because I have to think, when this petrol price keeps on going up, will I be able to afford putting petrol into that car? And then there are installments. What happens to all of that? I can't just willy-nilly give money to people either because I need it more than ever. So the critical element here is ensuring to yourself that you can sustain your current life. That is the current basis we're at. We're all living for one thing, for our own survival at this point in time. And yes, the spirit of Ubuntu is what we always continuously preach as much as possible. But in a time when COVID-19 is ravaging through the world, looking after yourself is number one. It's always going to be number one priority. So that's what saving is also about. Now, again, during COVID-19 and during this pandemic, unfortunately, it's extremely difficult to save. But I've got an idea on how you can do it without having to think too much about it. I'll get to that in a second. I want to start off with this story though. It was just the year I had finished university, well, finished high school rather. So that's, yes, I'm very young, so 2007. All right, my first year in university. I was lucky enough to get a bursary from one of the mining companies, actually. Just a side note, I actually wanted to be a geologist, and then accounting was my second choice, and I ended up as a financial journalist. So you can see how life works. And in doing all of that, in getting that bursary, I realized that I actually have so much I can achieve here, so much I'd like to do. So I just thought to myself, okay, what else am I going to do to achieve the things I really want to? Well, I'm going to make sure I study, of course, right? But it's university. It's my first year in varsity. So I'm going to live a little. Now, the bursary I had gave me 20,000 Rand every 6 months. That was meant to be for my books, for my out-of-res allowance. I didn't live at res. I lived at home with my mother. So that's what that money was for, to help me with that out-of-res allowance. And so it was 20,000 Rand that I got every 6 months. Now, I must say that my mother lost her job back in 1998. I had not seen 20,000 Rand in my life. And yet, when I turned 18 and went to university on January the 1st, well, late January in 2007, I had 20,000 Rand in my bank account. So what happened? Boy, oh boy, I blew it. But luckily, I only blew the second installment. Let's get it right. So yes, getting the books, that was done. Getting things like making sure that I had transport money to go to university, that was all done. So that was fine. At the same time, though, we didn't have electricity at home. We lived in a complex, but we had switched off all the lights because my mother doesn't work. So we can't afford any of those things. So we switched off the lights. We lived using a paraffin stove and candlelight. I finished my entire matric year just under candlelight. Really, I studied using the candlelight. So I kind of get the essence of how difficult life can be. My entire high school life was me under candlelight and using a paraffin stove every morning to warm up water, to warm up our food, or whatever the case might be. In doing all of that, I got to a point, though, where the second installment comes in. Because the first one was used to switch the lights back on at home. We were able to now, okay, cool, we've paid for things and we've got all this money that we can use, try and be as frugal as possible. Let's take this money and use it to switch the lights back on. Finally, lights. The second installment comes in June, July, for the second semester. Second half of the year. And I decide it's time to be me. My mother allows me to use up a little bit and says, do you? You've worked hard for it. Boy, did I blow it. As any teenager, I suppose, would, right? Alcohol was about 5 Rand for a beer at UJ. And you just literally lived on the grass, and that was it. Class was a sideshow to the rest of university life. And even though I had to go back home every day, I still knew that one thing I could do for sure was live my life. So eventually, though, I got to second year and failed. And unfortunately, the bursary went away. Now I'm stuck again. We didn't have electricity and lights, or money for that matter, in high school. We have the first 2 years of my life where, in university that is, where I'm getting 20,000 Rand odd every 6 months. Money I'd never seen before in my life. And I blew that opportunity. After that, I have to figure my own way out. My mother says, if you want to continue studying, unfortunately, you're going to have to try and find a way because we just don't have the money. So I started working as a waiter at Gold Reef City, the theme park and not the casino. And it was a worthwhile job because it got me through university. So I've been a waiter. I've kind of worked my way up in that field. But the one thing I knew nothing about was how to use money to better myself. So my mother was absolutely great with money. But the one thing she said in that time was that I needed to learn. And clearly what I needed to learn was how to be bad at it before I could be good at it. So that's what I tried to do, try to be as good as I could, but it didn't matter at the time. All I wanted to do was to just spend. But I want to bring it to today. One thing that we could all do is still spend our money, but a lot better. I say better because there's no right or wrong. There's what's good for you, what's right for you, what you're able to sustain in terms of your funds, in terms of your savings, in terms of just the money you have for day-to-day expenses. It's the money that you need, the money that you must have. Right? So how do we do that? I want us to think about saving as not a means of necessarily depriving yourself of life, of things you really enjoy. I want to think of saving as limiting wasteful expenditure. Right? So let me detail that a little bit more. That's where we get to this part. And perhaps then I could just get to helping you all understand what I mean. I want us to work a little bit more on waiting. When you spend your money, I'm not saying don't spend it. I'm saying wait. Just wait for a little bit. Are you sure that that's the item you actually want? Because if it is, maybe if you wait, you'll still feel the need for it at a later stage. So you can use 24 hours for big ticket items. You can even use 30 days. What does that mean? It's avoid purchasing that expensive or unnecessary item on impulse. That's what we're trying to avoid. Impulsive buying. Because if an idea or an item that you're using to shop is well thought out, it doesn't matter then. Then it's fine. Just use the money wisely. Let's avoid impulsive shopping. All right, the next part, with an imposed 24-hour rule. You impose it on yourself. Yes, hopefully you get somebody to hold you accountable, but impose it on yourself. For any non-essential item, wait 24 hours before purchasing it. It's perfect for things like online shopping, which I unfortunately struggle with quite a lot, where your items can simply be added to your cart and then you purchase later. So if you feel like you need the item, add it to your cart and then wait. Look at the next day. Do you need it then? Unfortunately, of course, there places that don't help, because you get websites like One Day Only for that matter that have that sale just that day. But what you can do is you can see that sale in the morning, wait until later on in the day maybe before purchasing that item. What you've done is you've given it thought. Do you really need it? Is it not just an impulsive buy? In order to start saving, you need to start thinking about your expenses. So wait. Wait for a split second. Second thing, unsubscribe. Now, how many times do you go onto a website, buy something, and then what tends to happen is that store continues to send you emails, right? They remind you of how to perhaps get something else. Stop subscribing. By law, each marketing email is required to have an unsubscribe link. Now, that unsubscribe link is there so that you don't have to continue to receive those marketing emails. And you don't have to keep receiving them. So the less you have of all of those things, that email, for example, the more you sit there going to yourself, well, I'm okay then. I don't know, so I won't make the purchase. In this case, ignorance is bliss. So unsubscribe. Don't give yourself to all that temptation. Take it away. What have you done? You've saved yourself the hassle, which means you're saving money because you're not buying on impulse. So you've taken number one and you've made number two a part of it. So now both of them work in tandem. That's just the second element. Unsubscribe. Unsubscribe from those marketing emails and texts. Number three, be thrifty. Now, being thrifty also needs a little bit of smarts. Being thrifty, in essence, is looking for things like secondhand stores as cheap as possible, being frugal. I'm saying don't be cheap and don't buy cheap things just for cheap's sake. So a lot of people would say, oh, no, I try to get the best bargain for this and that. And great, if you can get a bargain on it, fantastic. Let's remember, though, that if I have to buy one item and then a little bit down the road I have to buy the same item again, when I could have bought one quality item and avoided the second purchase, why would I not do that? Is that not an internal saving itself? So don't just buy cheap just for cheap's sake. Actually look and say, what about the quality? Don't always prioritize price over quality. What I'm saying is think also long term. If I buy a quality item that may be a little bit expensive, I've ensured that I don't have to make that purchase for an even longer period. I've saved more money. Think about that. That's a way for you to save money. You've now saved. It's a hack. You've just not necessarily put money away, but you've ensured that that priority is no longer a priority for the short term, right? So why not keep doing that? So be thrifty, right? An inexpensive shirt or coat is a poor bargain for older family members. Think about that for a second. Because if it wears out in less than a year, then you have to buy that same shirt or coat again. Whereas perhaps for quickly growing children, buying an item that wears out in a year or so isn't such a bad idea because they're going to be growing out of it in a year anyway, right? So that's a hack as well. The next thing, plan. I cannot say this enough. In March, I was meant to go, or rather in May actually. In May, I was meant to go to Italy. And it was meant to be an absolutely great trip. I was going to go on holiday. The summer of Europe was going to be absolutely amazing. I was going to watch my favorite footballing star, Ronaldo, play at Juventus. And in their stadium, I've watched him play at Manchester United. I've watched him play live as well at Real Madrid. I was now going to watch him live again at Juventus. And that was just going to be my dream. Enjoy time out. I had planned for that trip for a year. Unfortunately, COVID-19 said, no, it's not happening. But the fact of the matter is here, I had planned for that holiday for a year. Believe it or not, I was staying at a 4-star and above holiday resort or hotel in every city. It was so cheap though, because I had planned a year ago what I wanted to do this year. January last year already, I knew where I wanted to stay. Found the best bargain and even negotiated an easier journey as well. I then managed to buy things like bus trips, or planned all those things. Bus trips, trips between cities, everything that I was going to do. I had a whole itinerary. And yes, it may take the fun out of being spontaneous, but when things are not necessarily going your way financially, being spontaneous may just have to go out the window, unfortunately. Think about that. Your flight is a whole lot cheaper when you buy it nearly a year away as opposed to buying it 2 months closer to the time. Your holiday could be cheaper if you just planned better. If you allow yourself to plan when your next holiday will be and planning towards it by researching things like pricing, payments, and being able to do that early, it may serve you best. You may get a cheaper deal. You have then saved by doing things before the demand is greater. If demand for something increases, basic economics says that if the demand, for example, for this apple increases.
Currently, probably university costs about 50,000 Rand. And if your child is born today, you've got 18 years to save for that 50,000 Rand a year. Now, remember, it's 50,000 Rand in today's money. That's another thing about money. There's today's money and then tomorrow's money and then there's money in between. So it's already a difficult conversation to have to talk to money. There's inflation, 10% there. And there's also what we also have an annual return, which is how much your money can grow, where it's invested. And then we've got 4 years. So to save 50,000, okay, for a child who will enroll 18 years from now at 10% education inflation, 50,000 in today's money in 18 years time will be 518,641 Rand. That's money talking. It's telling you what you need to do. Annual contribution for me to save 500,000 for 18 years, I need to be saving 5,000 a year now. Now, if you are, I know there's the clever people in the room right now who are already looking at those numbers. Okay,
One thing I've already seen, which I made a mistake, I put number of years enrolled 4. It should actually be number of years enrolled 1, because 50,000 is the cost of 1 year. So the cost of 1 year education in 18 years time will be 500,000, which means that if I want to save for 4 years, you multiply that by 4, which means that I need to save 20,000 a year, which means that I need 20,000 a year. I need to divide that by 12. That's how much I need to save every month. Simple. And that's, you saw one side I've ticked that inflate contributions, and on the other side I've ticked I haven't inflated contributions. All I've done is, on one side I'm saying I'm going to contribute a certain amount and increase it every year, and that amount will be 5,000 and it increases with inflation. And on the other side I've said don't inflate the contributions, I'll pay whatever it is every year, and it's a flat amount of 8,000 every year for the next 18 years, and I get a 10% annual return. Now how money talks is that annual return line you've got there is very important, because that's where you have to have a fund manager or a good financial planner to make sure that happens. Most of us don't check on these guys who we take policies from. We simply believe it's going to happen. It doesn't happen that way. So in our session right now, I want everyone to type on the right hand side of the comments, numbers don't lie. Okay, everyone in the room, let's write it. Numbers don't lie. Because the language of money is numbers, and they don't lie. And numbers are linear. Everyone, I want everyone in here to write numbers don't lie. Because if you get that concept, you will understand that to understand your money, you have to always understand the numbers. Or if you don't understand the numbers, make sure you're working with someone who does. Numbers don't lie. So there, it's quite simple. I want to say for my child's education, 50,000 today's money is 518,000 in tomorrow's money. They call it future value. I either save 8,000 as a flat amount, or I save 5,000 as an inflated amount, and I contribute that for 1 year's education. The number of years enrolled is an error on this slide. There's an error. That 4 should be 1, because 50,000 equates to 1. When I say 4 is 50,000, I'm actually saying that 4 years education is 50,000, which is possible, but not at a good university currently. So numbers don't lie. Let's look at more numbers which are not going to lie to us. Tax-free savings account. ABSA are saying they're going to give 10,000 Rand to someone who's very lucky in our webinars. Tax-free savings account is very simple. It's an account which tax doesn't come and meddle in your growth numbers. So normally when you save money or you invest money, there's different taxes which can happen. Either they're going to take money because it's part of your marginal taxation, or it's going to be taken away because it's part of capital gains tax. But tax is a problem because it reduces the amount of money you have, and the numbers are not lying here. The numbers of a tax-free savings account are here. If you contribute the maximum amount on a tax-free savings account, which is 2,750 or 36,000 a year as a once-off payment, up till the maximum of 500,000, which isn't, I haven't put the 500,000, but you're only allowed 500,000 maximum currently in a tax-free savings account, you will contribute 36,000 for almost 14 point something years. Okay, and this is how your money will grow if tax doesn't affect it, and you get a decent long-term annual return. You can see how the money grows. Now I'm showing you this because with this amount you're going to contribute 36,000 a year for 14 years, and then at year 14, I don't know if you can see my little arrow, you stop contributing, and then guess what happens? The money goes on to autopilot from year 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. You saw compound interest starts to really work at that money. What am I showing you here is the power of how money numbers work. They need, for compounding to really start working, you need to give it a 14, 15 year good start, and then it starts working for yourself. Note, you stop putting in money at year 14. Look at the kind of money you have at year 25. Okay, and this is important. Why am I showing this? This tax-free savings account is very important for children. So if you want to save for your child from birth, this is the vehicle you can use. Even into a retirement annuity, because this is how a retirement annuity works, except a retirement annuity is taxed. So before I start putting in money into an RA, first ensure you're contributing the maximum into your tax-free savings, and then watch your money grow. This is the foundation of a good savings plan. Again, numbers don't lie. Can everyone type it on the right? Tax-free savings, let's put TFSA, numbers don't lie. Okay, we're continuing. The language of money. I'm just going to talk numbers here because I love these numbers. This is how money talks. And when money talks, it talks loud and clear. And it's really a beautiful language when you start understanding that numbers don't lie. They are specific. Money can say, we're meeting next week on the 26th at 9 o'clock, and money will meet you there, because numbers don't lie, but simply understand the numbers behind the money. So here, I've got two examples going on here. Two examples of how much you might be owing on your credit card. Someone in the room owes 20,000. Someone owes 50,000. Someone owes an amount in between. Someone owes even more. Okay. Numbers don't lie. Average credit interest rate, 20%. I think it's fair. Most people paying about 20% on their credit cards. Again, understand how much interest you're paying, because if you don't understand how much interest you're paying, it influences how numbers talk back to you. So this is quite simple. If you want to pay off your credit card in 3 years, which is 36 months, understand numbers when it comes to money, 36 months is 3 years. If you want to pay off your 50,000 debt in 3 years, quite simple. You need to pay 1,800 a month. If it's 20,000, you need to pay 743. But I also want you to look at some important numbers there. Can you see how scary a credit card is? Because on your 50,000, to get rid of 50,000 on a credit card, you actually need to pay 66,000 to get rid of it, which means that 16,000 goes in interest to the lender. To get rid of your 20,000, you have to pay 26,000. Understand these numbers, because it's all driven by that thing on top there which says credit interest rate. Numbers don't lie. If you want to pay off that same credit card of 20,000 in 2 years, you increase your payment from 743 to 1,000 rand a month. If you want your 50,000 to be gone in 3 years, you increase it from 1.8 to 2.5. Simple, straightforward, no secrets. Numbers don't lie. Why am I showing you numbers in this? Is because I want us to get comfortable in looking at these numbers. Because our problem a lot of the time when it comes to debt is we don't like the numbers. But if you don't like the numbers, you're not talking to your money, and your money cannot talk to you. So credit card. Can we put credit card? Numbers don't lie on the right hand column. Someone was waiting for this. They want to see. Home loan. How does the home loan work? Okay. So what I've got here is two scenarios. Again, I'm just using two scenarios. All these numbers can be changed, and you can get actual values. One side is a 500,000 Rand home loan, and another one is a 1 million Rand home loan. Let's say you've been paying for 5 years, so you still owe 15 years of your bond. On the 500,000 Rand bond, if you pay an extra amount of 1,000 Rand a month, you pay it off earlier by 49 months. Look at that, 49 months. Now, again, numbers don't lie. 49 months is, there are 12 months in a year. That's almost 4 years earlier, just by an extra 1,000 on your 500,000 Rand bond. If you do 1,000 Rand extra on your 1 million Rand bond, you also shave off a nice 49 months in terms of, on 1,000 Rand on a million, it's the one at the end on the right. You shave it off by 29 months. The difference is simply because of the interest. Look at the total interest. Again, it's important when you take out a bond, understand how the numbers talk to you. On 500,000 bond owing, you still have to pay back 714,000. On 1 million Rand with 15 years to go, you still have to pay 1.5 million. Yet you've already paid for 5 years. Seriously? Numbers don't lie. 1 million Rand, extra payment 2,000 Rand brings it down 49 months. On a 500,000 rand bond, 500,000 bond, you pay extra 2,000. Look at that, 77 months gone. Finish that thing in almost 6 years earlier. No, actually 72 months, 7 years. 62 months is 5 years. Yeah, 6 years earlier. So again, spot the patterns. Be comfortable with those numbers, because look at the interest, look at what's going on with the numbers, because again, home loan, numbers don't lie. We're moving on. I know I've got about 3 or 4 more slides, and then we can have a chat around what's going on. I need you to also understand that as much as we're talking about repaying debt, numbers and money works in the same way when you are starting to save money. And this is basically a number of scenarios where a person starts saving 1,000 rand at 20, and a person starts saving 1,000 rand at 35. So, for example, the numbers at the bottom are your interest rate and how much you would have when you are 65. So if I start saving 1,000 rand when I'm 20, and when I turn 65 and I'm getting an annual return of 10%, I can expect to have 8 million rand, or I can expect to have 3,428 if it's 7% the return I get, or at a 4% annual return, I can expect to have 1.4 million. This is about saving monthly 1,000 rand. If I wait until I'm 35 years old, I cannot get 8 million at 10%. I'll only get 1.9. Look at the huge difference. Again, it's about encouraging us to start saving early, because time and money are friends in terms of growing the money over time. All these charts and graphs will be available after this. So again, I want us to remember that the numbers don't lie. Our problem is that we don't really apply our minds, and if we're not comfortable with the numbers, let's make sure we get ourselves a financial planning professional who knows their story in terms of these numbers and explaining them. Retirement is exactly that. If I want to retire and I save 1,000 rand at 65, and I start saving at 25, I'll have 5 million. Remember the previous slide? If I started saving at 20, it's 8 million. Can you see? 20, 1,000 rand, it's the third one on to the right. 8 million, 1,000 rand at 20. If I wait 5 years, that 8 million goes down to 5 million. Can you see? Age 25 at the bottom there, 1,000 rand saved up at 10% annual return at 65. I can expect to have 5 million. Still decent money. Now, if you start pushing yourself and start saving at 25, 3,000 rand a month, look at that. A big number at 65. 15 million rand at an annual return of 10%. And then obviously the ages are at the bottom. So if you're 35, that's the most you can get saving that amount monthly at that particular return. Numbers don't lie. Church people on the right, type it in. Numbers don't lie. After you retire, you need to also realize, how long is this money going to last me? So yes, I saved for retirement and now I'm retired. How long will I survive with the money which I saved? And here I've got a few scenarios. Somebody who's retiring with 2 million, another one who's retiring with 3 million, and another one who's retiring with 5 million. Okay, your annual return rate goes down quite a lot. Why have I reduced it? Simply because after you've retired, you're not investing in shares and high risk, high return assets. You start getting a pretty low return after you retire. So 4% is what I've used here. And so let's start with a person who retires with 2 million rand. If they take 7,000 rand a month pension, they can live until they're 77, or the money will last 77 years in terms of how long the money will keep you going. Now remember, our life expectancy has increased quite a lot. So normally someone who's got 2 million rand, they're not going to probably live off 7,000 rand. They're more likely to live off 3,000 or 13,000 rand, or more than that, the 14,000. The money will last 16 years. So it means after retirement, 16 years, your money will finish. At 3 million rand, if you're living off 17,000 rand a month, your money will finish in 22 years, or 20 years if it's at 18,000 rand a month. Again, it's important. 5 million rand sounds like a lot of money. If I live off 5 million rand and draw down 23,000, 25,000 rand a month, I've got 30 years before my money finishes. Again, it's important because you need to put yourself in these situations, because retirement will come one day for you. And you need to understand, when that guy is now telling you, Baba, your money is going to last 8 years, you understand that it started now. It didn't start when you retired. It started with the decision you are making now around how you relate to your money going forward. Now, here's the sad part. So here we're talking nice big numbers, 5 million, 3 million, 2 million. It's important when you are talking to your financial planning professional to explain that 2 million. Are they talking about 2 million in today's money? Or are they talking about 2 million in tomorrow's money? Because there's a big difference. And this is where most average amateur financial planners will get it wrong. Because telling you you're going to get 5 million sounds good, but you are thinking in today's money. You're not thinking in tomorrow's money. But if they calculate that you get it in tomorrow's money, you will be very upset. Why? Because if you're in this group right now and you are watching this presentation and you look at what 1 million will be worth when you are 65. If you're 25, 1 million will be 45 million rand. So the person who's saving money for you needs to save for 45 million, because that's the same buying power as a million rand now. That's at a huge inflation rate, obviously, of 10%. If you use a 5% inflation rate, it's still a lot of money. 1 million when you retire at 65, if you're 25 years today, is going to be equivalent to 7 million. If you're someone who's close to my age today, on my birthday, and 5% inflation, I need to realize 1 million will be 3 million when I retire. So we're rounding off now. I'm talking about the language of money. It's very important that we all understand how money talks. Now, I don't have a secret weapon here. Debt elimination, there's only one thing you can do. Pay back their money. Okay? So with debt elimination, on the right hand side, can you type it out? Pay back the money. You took it out, you didn't know any better, but there's no shortcut. For getting rid of debt, you need to pay back the money. Now, how you start paying back the money normally is you need a tool. And this is the thing which most people tell you, no, you must have a monthly budget. This is how it works. So this is an example of what a monthly budget looks like. You put in your numbers of what you want to spend, and you put actually what you do spend. And at the end of the month, you keep track. Why is this thing full of numbers? It's because this is how money talks. Money talks in numbers. So if you're not doing a budget, how are you talking to your money? Your money is not talking to you because you're not doing a budget. You cannot be in control of your money or talk to your money if you don't have a budget spreadsheet. So this is what it looks like. There's different versions, different styles. Most important thing is understand that if you are not talking to your money, it's not talking back to you. And finally, it is possible to get out of debt. This is someone who I helped to get out of debt. How much did we get out of debt here? I think, let me just look quickly. This was, I think, a lady who had 360,000 rand or 380. It was a lot of money. Let's see. 110 plus 130 automatically. It's a lot of money. 300,000 plus. But one thing I want you to look about this spreadsheet is that it takes time for money or debts to be eliminated. So we start getting out of debt in December 2016, and we only can celebrate the last debt in August 2018. It takes 2 years of discipline and 2 years of paying amounts properly and regularly. So you can see that, discipline is required when you want to get out of debt. So in my saying money talks, now you know how money talks to you. It has its own language, and the language of money is simply numbers. So how are we going to take it forward from? I might be the person who wants to start a stokvel. I want everyone in this group to realize you need to get yourself a professional financial planner who speaks the language of money. All those calculations I gave you, all those things I was showing you, I was not saying do it yourself. I was merely illustrating that for you to have a conversation with money, you need to talk numbers, okay? And you need to work with someone who can talk the language. So you do not need to understand everything, but understand that everything and all the answers you require with regards to your finances lie in the numbers. So the best way you can save for yourself is to understand the money language, which is numbers. Now, there's a lot of salespeople out there who say they are financial planners. I happen to not be one of those. I do not want you to get mixed up with some salesperson who's trying to sell you a policy. That is not a financial planner. You need a financial doctor. You saw some of those calculations I did. Ask them about them. If that financial person cannot answer on the trot, they're not the real deal. Okay? Ask them to explain the time value of money. Yes, it's his job. Explain to me, sir, the time value of money. If the answer doesn't make sense to you, move on. Get referrals. If your financial planning professional cannot explain present value versus future value, I do not want to even know him. Because he's the guy who's going to tell you you're going to get 5 million when you're 65, but you're 20 today, but he doesn't actually realize that 5 million in today's money is not the same when you're 65. Run. Ask them to show you how to eliminate debt. I showed you. This is how you do it. There's a method to the madness. If they don't have their own tools to do that, run. Okay? And understand that money has laws. Okay? So ask your financial planning professional, tell me 3 laws which govern my money in South Africa. There's lots of laws which govern money. There's the Phase Act, POPI, there's protection of data, there's the FICA, there's RICA, there's a lot of money acts. But if your financial doctor can explain that, I'd run as well. Because would you trust a GP who does not know what an ECG is? You're going to your doctor, you're saying I'm sick, and you say, doctor, what is an ECG? And he can't explain it. Every doctor knows what an electrocardiogram is. It's a heart rate thing, the thing with the lines. So they need to understand that. Would you go to a doctor who can't read an X-ray? This is your X-ray right here. This is your financial X-ray. If your doctor can't read an X-ray, run. Okay? Also, finally, would you trust a doctor who can't get your blood test results? Your debt. This is your blood test, your financial blood of debt. If your financial planner cannot explain that, again, run. So here I'm trying to say ways to save 2018. Practical steps. Get financial counsel. Good financial counsel. It might cost you, but good counsel costs. Start a stokvel. Think of group savings. Be in control of your fate. Food, accommodation, transport, education, as well as entertainment. Finally, understand the money language. Money talks, and it talks a very clear and loud language which says numbers don't lie. So in the right hand column, church, everybody, we're going to say it today. Numbers don't lie. They never will, and they always tell the truth. If they work with you, holidays are waiting for you. If your numbers work with you, debt is gone. If your number speaks to you and you speak back to it, marriage is coming for someone out there looking to get married. If you love your numbers are talking to you, you are going to create wealth. And if your numbers are talking to you as a family, you've got common wealth, common generational wealth going on. You're going to start talking inheritance. Money is such a big topic, but hopefully today, on my birthday, we have at least demystified the one thing which I wanted us all to get, which is that numbers don't lie. And if you are sitting there, it's time for questions, because numbers have never lied. Arabile, I can see you're back, and hopefully I helped somebody today.
Yeah, look, there's no ways you didn't. I can tell you that much for sure. And I think, just having seen and being part of the conversation, just on the side there, certainly can tell that numbers certainly don't lie, Gerald. They speak for themselves. All you have to do is listen, right? So that's just been very critical and very important. You're quite right. Shall we get into some of the questions then?
Questions. Wow. Okay.
Quite a few. Let's start at the top then. It says, okay, VJ has answered that one. Which one is better, saving an emergency fund in a 32-day account or a money market account? I don't know if you want me to take this one very quickly then. I mean, just very quickly, my thoughts
take it, and then I'll pick up another one.
Sure. I mean, look, again, it just depends on what your needs are. It's very important that with financial advice, the best thing is to realize what it is that you need, because anybody can give you a generic answer, but it might not fit into the mold that you want. So a 32-day account, it pretty much gives notice to the bank. You need to give them 32 days notice to say you want your money then after those number of days. Is the interest rate the level you want it at? The money market account, of course, that linkage to the market as well is actually very important. Is that rate and that level of risk something you're willing to take on? So there is no right or wrong. It fully depends on what your needs are, I think. Gerald?
Yes, and I've got another question here, which was asking about the tax-free savings account. I showed you some of the numbers you can get if you get a good return. Tax-free savings accounts, any South African can take a tax-free savings account. It has to be a South African citizen or permanent resident, i.e. you need a South African ID number to have a tax-free account. And what I would recommend is every single member of your family has their own tax-free account. So Rafik was asking, is that for a child or the parent? It doesn't matter. As long as you are working with the numbers, you can change who actually owns the tax-free savings account. Why is it some financial advisors don't advise opening a tax-free savings account with banks? I don't know that one, but I'll tell you why. Commission. Yeah. A lot of these financial advisors are not doing this for you. They are thinking about their back pocket. And generally, tax-free savings accounts from banks don't pay commission to the financial advisor, so he's got no time for you to tell you to go there. So trust me, it's all about the return that matters, not where you get it. But I'm being honest here. I want you to get a financial planning professional who's got your back, not someone who's got his commissions back. So it's important that you realize that a lot of the time when the guy starts saying don't take it from the bank, it's not always about the return. Often it's about how much commission he's going to get. How does one protect money from the tax-free savings account over that 15 years on that chart I showed you? Inflation is there. We can't do anything about it. However, all I'm saying is by understanding the numbers, you can start saving money so that even if inflation attacks it, it's better to have something. Don't you agree? Because our problem right now is that we don't have anything. So inflation, unfortunately, you try and get the best return, which can beat inflation. So if my return is 12% per annum and inflation is 10%, I'm actually getting 2% growth. But that's good because I'm beating inflation. Arabile.
Yeah. So another question here: why does it seem like a person is more valuable when they die rather than when they're alive? Life covers can pay at least even 10 million rand for a dead person. Look, let's remember that for a policy or a life cover, for example, to cover that much money, you and I had to choose it. So let's remember that what these people are trying to do is avoid risk to your family or to whoever it is that you leave behind. So, it is a sad way to unfortunately look at it and see things, but it isn't the only way to make note of. Remember that you're trying to leave a lasting legacy here. We're trying to create generational wealth. Now, it may not seem like the best way to do it, but it's to ensure that any debt that you may have left behind. I mean, for example, if you have a house, and by the time you pass away, unfortunately, you haven't been able to pay off that house, the life cover can be used to pay that house off. You know, there'll be a whole lot of other issues as well in terms of liquid cash that you kind of need to settle a few things. But ultimately, that's the kind of money you would need and be able to use in order to pay off things like your house, whether if you own a car as well. So it's not that you're worth more, you're actually worth more alive, because you can continue to create the generational wealth. Whereas when you pass away, that stops kind of. And you're unable to create even more than you probably could have.
Family, church, numbers don't lie. Now, one of the things which most financial advisors don't understand is that a life policy is an investment policy. And how am I saying, how can a life policy be an investment? How can I invest in myself dying? Well, let's look at the numbers. Numbers will never lie. So, for example, if you go and get yourself a 10 million rand life insurance policy, you're going to pay a monthly premium of about 5,000 rand. Okay, for you to save 10 million rand at 5,000 rand a month, it's going to take you 89 years. Are you going to save for 89 years? No. You'll be lucky if you work for 40. But let's say there's growth and the money is invested, you still are going to, actually no, 5,000 into a million is 300 and something years. If let's say the money grows at 10-15% a year, you cut that down from 300 years to 89 years. So by taking out a life policy where I'm paying 5,000 rand a month, I'm actually saving for 300 years, because the insurance company the policy is going to work for me when I die, and I'm going to create wealth for my family. And it's as simple as that. That's why people who are wealthy, you find that they've got 4, 5, 6, 7 life insurance policies, because they've been paying those premiums, because they understand that this is the step up for the numbers, for my family to move from being poor to being okay, to being wealthy. Each time it's a life insurance policy that kicks in. Problem with us is that you take that policy and next year when COVID strikes, you stop paying it. And then all that money you've been paying, poof, it's gone. Understand the numbers. So it's actually the best investment vehicle for your children. It's not for you. So again, when you're talking about wealth money, realize that it's not always for you. You have to have a bigger plan. And the bigger plan is generational wealth. So numbers never lie. 5,000 rand, you do it. 5,000 into a million. A million has 6 zeros, 1 and 6 zeros. Can someone write it down on the right, please, so that I can get this calculation right? 1 million divided by 5. How much is it, please? I'm not seeing anyone answering. 1 million divided by 5,000. Are there any takers? Or are people gone? Okay. Not enough quickness. Let me do it quickly here. Live and direct. Numbers don't lie. 1 million divided by 5. Hey, there you go. 1 million divided by 5 is not 200,000, it's 200. Well done, guys. 200 divided by 12. So 200 is divided by 12 so that we get the number of years that 200 represents. So if you don't get any investment growth and you have 200 divided by 12, here I'm pulling up the wrong calculator. I've got so many calculators on my phone because I'm a numbers person. So 200 divided by 12 is 16.7 exactly. So what you need to realize is it's going to take you 16.7 years of just contributing 5,000 to get to that same amount. And what you're going to get is you're going to get inflation kicking in, etc. So it's actually a savings vehicle. So now remember, Angiti, I got you here. I got you guys because you think you've got me. You're like, 16.7 years for a million. But remember, I was talking about 10 million. Got you. I was talking about 10 million. So to save a million rand, it will take you 16 years. To save 10 million rand, do the maths. Numbers don't lie. That life policy is going to help you, because for 10 million rand, multiply that 16 years by a factor of 10, you are not going to work 160 years. Even if you get fantastic returns, you are not going to save and ever save that money. Get the life policy. Understand it's a wealth creation tool. Where does one get the calculators, home loan, credit card, etc.? Tandiwe. I think you missed part of this presentation. The calculators did not do the deed. Calculators are useful. It's the person. I want you to find your Mr. G. Find your person who can use the calculator. I can show you where to get the calculators, but unfortunately, if you start focusing on saying, if I have that calculator, I can do what Mr. G does, you can't. I studied for this. Please respect the craft. So get a professional financial planner, Tandiwe, who can help you. Yes, I want you to have the calculator so that when you're sitting with that guy, if he doesn't have the calculator and you have it, you tell him, you know what, our conversation shall end immediately. Now, so pay back the money. We've got that's not really a question. Why does it seem like a person's valuable when they die? Arabile identified that. Remember also, when you die, there's death tax, estate duty. 20% of who you are, SARS are going to come and collect. So you need to make sure that you have liquidity, because if that money is not available in cash, they're going to sell stuff. So again, moral of today's story is get yourself somebody who's competent. Where can I get a legit financial planner other than who has the qualifications, experience? I think work on referral. My details are there somewhere. We can talk. I can get you in touch with financial planners. There's I think some apps are guys on the platform as well. It's a beauty contest. You need to find someone who works with you. So find the one who talks the money language best in terms of talking to you as well. So again, it's going to be something each of us is going to do. My next question is simply, please advise if we can open a group account. Pumla has tackled that. Is it better to pay cash for a house or car, or take a loan? A loan is a tool. You can have both. You can pay them. It's up to you. Most important thing is it must be part of a plan. The problem is when we buy houses and cars, a lot of the time we're doing it because life says do it, but we're not actually planning. I need to prepare tertiary children for tertiary education. 10 and 8. What would be better than an educational savings plan or unit trust? Look, educational savings plan or unit trust, again, understand, as long as the numbers are talking to you getting to your destination, they both work. Tax-free savings account can also serve the same purpose. But my biggest concern is when you're talking education with your financial planner, a good financial planner is not going to be willing to take you saying, I can only pay 500 Rand. Because that's where the problem lies. Because when your child is now going for varsity, you forget the fact that you are the one who said, I can only pay 500 Rand. Yet the financial was saying pay 1,000, 3,000 a month, 1,300 a month. So it's important. I want you to realize that numbers don't lie. Work with the numbers. If the numbers say pay 1,322 Rand, pay 1,322 Rand. Because if you say I can only afford 500, you're going to be short. So the numbers are going to answer you in 18 years time and say, but you said you are okay with me being short. So don't complain. So it's important. Know that. Arabile, do you have a question?
So yeah, I got one here. It just says, how can I build my credit score in my early 20s? This is probably one that you get so often as well, right, Gerald? Look, one thing that I actually did back in the day is I actually opened a clothing account, and it ended up going a little bit too far actually for me, but it is one of the ways. Look, one thing's for sure, you just need to be able to continuously pay whatever item it is that you have on credit or on debt continuously and on a continued basis. So if, for example, you get a cell phone contract, be able to pay that. One thing that is critical here, don't necessarily take the full amount that is offered to you. So here's an example. The cell phone account, they allow you to take a phone contract out with a maximum of about, let's just say 2,000 Rand. Do not just take a phone out for 2,000 Rand per month. It's easier for you to manage something that you can do, manage something that is less than that. So why not just try and get a contract for about 1,000 Rand maybe? what you've done is you can continue to pay that off no matter what the scenario, the case is, and you continue to build your credit score up that way. Getting things like retail store accounts is great, but not to have many. If anything, just have one. You're not going to impress anybody. You're not going to play teacher's pet and help anybody out by having more than one clothing account or having multiple cell phone accounts for that matter either. Remember, we're trying to save. We're trying to spend smart here. So we're developing and creating an entire environment for ourselves that we can grow under, not something that is just going to burden us for life here just because we thought it would be the best way to create credit. So I think for me, trying to find those elements, things like your retail store accounts, like your cell phone accounts as well, always work well.
Hospital. Hello?
We got you.
Okay, so what are some savings hacks for a new baby hospital education? Look, for a new baby hospital education, for a new baby, there's so many things you can do. Tax-free savings account. You can even take out a retirement annuity for a new baby. Things which people don't actually tell you. And these are some of the things you need to realize are possible. You can open a bank account for a new baby. That's a savings hack for a baby. When we all grew up, we had savings books, those passbooks, and they'd stamp and you'd save money. Get your children back into that kind of life where your children start understanding the numbers from a young age. Because one of the reasons we know a bit more about money is because we used to look at that passbook and see how much did we get last birthday and see how much money has come in. So it's important. Look at that. Hospital, there's different ways of managing your hospital expenses. You can either go through medical aid or you can go through a hospital insurance. Or you can save directly. There's no one size fits all. You need to try and get into a situation where you get something which works for you. And also, how many tax-free accounts can you have? You can have as many tax-free accounts as possible. VJ, I appreciate your answers, but you're not answering. You're simply directing people to ABSA advisors. Let's get some answers, VJ. Because if someone says how many accounts, you could have answered that. You can have as many tax-free savings accounts as you want, as long as you stay within your annual contribution of 36,000 a year or 2,750. I can barely cover my expenses. How can I save for a small safety net? Again, Karen, what you need to do is, as VJ did answer this time, he said you can get lunch, save on your lunch, save on your transport. Remember, control your fate. FATE, food, accommodation, transport, entertainment. Those are the quickest ways you can try and get a few savings in your pocket directly. What else do we have here? I'll do 2 more questions and then I'm done. Which websites, second-hand items? There are so many websites for second-hand items. There's a few answers there. Short courses on financial literacy, ways to save. We've got a number of tools there, a number of quizzes. You can get a lot of information. This Ways to Save website is not just for this month. It will be going on forever. So on the Ways to Save, you've also got information coming through from podcasts. Maya and all the other contributors will be on there, Mapalo, etc. So let's work on that. So I think that's, for me, the last question. I'm just going to the end. Yes, so again, the moral of today's story is simply get someone who can talk the numbers, the money language, which is numbers, but also importantly, start understanding it yourself. Be careful. Don't get too obsessed with the calculators and the information, because on the internet, there's information overload. Rather, understand what you can, but most importantly, when you do get that someone who can help you with your finances, make sure that they know their story. Don't put your fate in an amateur. Don't put your fate in someone who wants to sell you something and move on quickly. Arabile, your final thoughts before we do a vote of thanks.
Yeah. It's been an absolute pleasure actually being part of this all as well. And I think again, I want us to, to reiterate your message as well, Gerald. The numbers don't lie, so you need to get to know those numbers, understand the language, because if you don't, it will hurt. Secondly, when you start thinking about saving, remember that you don't have to save that it tears your life apart, that you no longer are enjoying your life, but that you are saving smart, you are spending smart as well. It is something that you can create within your own budget, and the way you conduct your affairs on a daily basis, everything from budgeting right through to how you put money away to how you spend it, can all be done in such a way that you begin to educate and build your life even more. That's it from me. Thank you so much, Gerald.
So everyone, yes, there's a raging discussion here. Tax-free savings account monthly contribution has gone up. 2,750 was last year's number, but remember the budget came out just before lockdown, so I did miss that. I didn't change the numbers, but the numbers can be changed easily. You can save 3,000 rand a month as opposed to 2,750. It will change the calculation a little bit, but the numbers won't lie. They'll still tell the truth. So thank you very much, everyone from the South African Savings Institute. Thank you for participating. There will be a quiz with some questions after this, which puts you in line for the 10,000 Rand tax-free savings account from Absa Bank. Thank you, Absa, for the sponsorship. Thank you, VJ, for helping with all the answers to some of the questions we've got here. And hopefully you can assist some of our participants. And participants, when you do find that financial planning professional, interview 2 or 3 people. Don't go for the first person who pops up. Try and make sure you get somebody who's going to give you the real deal. Sometimes selecting your financial planning professional is about language. If you speak Xhosa fluently and would rather talk money in Xhosa, get a Xhosa speaking financial planner. If you speak Zulu, do that same thing. Don't be forced to communicate in a language which you might not understand. It's bad enough not understanding the numbers, but if you layer a foreign language on top of that, it just makes it even more difficult. This webinar will be online, so you can replay it. The slides will not be available. You can replay it, and you'll get all the information there. And contact details for Arabile and myself, you can catch us offline or on social media. We're always glad to help. Next week, we've got the 25th for small business owners, for people who are self-employed. That'll be an important webinar for you. We've also got Absa economists will be in that webinar to give us a view as to where the economy is going. And if you're running a business or thinking of starting a business next week, please participate. Thank you very much, and it's been a pleasure having you for the last 1.5 hours. We went a bit over time. Hopefully it was worth your while, and wishing you the best on the rest of Mandela Day. Thank you very much.